When working with our clients in EMDR therapy, we sometimes encounter anger coming up. This can occur sometimes in normal processing. Other times it could be where they have anger issues. Alternatively, there may be a part of them, an ego state, which from time to time comes forward with extreme anger, rage in fact. In this video, I'm going to show you how to handle each of those situations in EMDR therapy. Please join me. Welcome, I'm Dr. Michael Paterson, clinical psychologist and EMDR Europe Accredited Senior Trainer. I'm going to explain about how to deal with anger when we're working with clients in EMDR therapy. As our client is processing a memory, from time to time the client might notice anger. If it's reported, we say, go with that, add in the bilateral stimulation and allow the client to process it through. Sometimes it will process spontaneously, the anger will ease and the client will eventually reach adaptive resolution. So we support the client. Now, sometimes as this emotion comes up, it could be coming up for them for the first time. Think about a client now as a teenager or an adult who experienced different sorts of trauma, abuse as a child. They couldn't fight back, they couldn't run away. It was a case of freeze and submit. They learned at that time if they talked back, well, it could have been worse for them, such as, don't you talk back to me, whack. They learned at that time to freeze and submit. But now, as the adult, the anger can come to the fore. If it does, support the client through it, using periodic supportive statements such as, it's old stuff, it's in the past. So you're adding in the bilateral stimulation, supporting the client as they're processing. That can allow it to process through, but sometimes clients become stuck with the anger. We do a set, have a breath, what do you notice now? I'm angry, okay, go with that, add in another set. Have a breath, what do you notice now? Still really angry. So at this point, the client's processing isn't moving spontaneously as it might. In those circumstances, I would invite the client to bring up an image of the person you're angry with. Have you got that picture in front of you? I do. So as you see that person in front of you, just say and do the things that you feel you need to. Go with that and then add in the bilateral stimulation. This can often be enough for the client to have a cathartic release, which is great. We continue the processing down to the SUD of 0. Sometimes clients present with anger issues. In another video in this series, I help you identify those memories for processing so that they can be targeted. There will be past events, present triggers, and clients' desired outcomes for the future. With those anger issues, often it will be related to a sense of personal defectiveness and responsibility. In the here and now, a comment or a look on somebody's face might imply there's something wrong with me. That activates the memory network. The way it's stored, what's stored there feeds into the present, causes that disturbance. If you've traced those memories back to the touchstone memory and other past events and identifying the present triggers, you can help your client process that using the standard protocol to adaptive resolution. Sometimes clients have a particular ego state, a part, which comes forward from time to time and expresses rage. This presents a challenge for us as the therapist because if that rage state comes to the fore when the client is in the therapy room with us, then what's going to happen? Might the client try to punch a hole in the wall? Might the client turn your therapy room upside down? Or might the client even attack you? I suppose these things are possibilities, so we need to try and keep the client contained. If I'm aware of this rage state, then in the preparation phase, I would likely be working with a number of different ego states. This would require you to have an understanding of how to access ego states in a controlled way. And if you haven't done any training in that, what I'm talking about now isn't going to equip you to do that. And I certainly wouldn't advise you to try it either. But assuming that you are familiar with getting ego states into a conference room or a communal room where the different parts can meet, then the same principle applies here. But what I have done with those rage states is, rather than invite them into the conference room, is to set up a video link. So this rage state is at the end of a video connection between the client and myself. I'm asking this particular part, what's the reason that you go into this rage state and take over? And it's often about survival, because the client has learned that the only way to survive is to be in this totally alert rage state, and then nobody is going to mess with them. It's adaptive, or certainly was adaptive for the client at some point in their life, but not all the time now. I could get into dialogue with that particular state and ask it to help it recognize that being present all the time as it is detrimental to the client. Is this what you want for, let's say, David? No, it's not. Well, how would you feel about staying in the background and David calling you in as and when he needs you? Okay, so it could be as simple as that. Sometimes that rage state is there because something has happened to the client in the past that they have not been able to resolve. Let's think of a scenario with somebody who had been held captive and sexually abused by a number of men in the past. And the rage state is there. So I could invite the rage state then to tell me, what do you feel it is that you need to do? I need to kill them. Okay, so if you were to do that, is there anything you would need to help you? No, I can do it myself. All I need is a baseball bat. Okay, so what we can do is then release that rage state from the room that it's in. It can go and do what it needs to do, then it comes back, having had that cathartic release. So basically it's re-scripting what actually happened, because the client now can do something that they weren't able to do previously whenever they were in that trauma situation. So whenever we do that with a client, then it's important that you debrief the client back to the reality of the present, where they are safe and secure now, and this was imagery work that we had done. So it helps them recognize this is something that I can do. That is only one way of working with a rage state. There are other techniques that you can develop over time. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, please click like down below and even subscribe to the channel so that you can be made aware of other videos I put up in the series. I want you to become the best that you can possibly be in delivering EMDR therapy.